Picture this. You're staring down an absolutely pitch-black, abandoned hallway, and suddenly, out of the dark, a pale, severed human head comes floating rapidly right at you. Oh, and it gets worse. It has exposed, bloody intestines trailing right underneath it, just hanging there in the air. Yeah, we are not doing any slow buildups today. Welcome back to The Explainer, because we are diving straight into absolute nightmare fuel. We are exploring the horrifying lore of the Miles Mansion. So, what you are looking at here is Krasue, and let me tell you, she is not just your run-of-the-mill monster. She is the literal manifestation of pure, localized tragedy. The absolute dread you feel just thinking about her is entirely justified when you realize how this thing hunts. Remember, you're in a pitch-black, sealed estate. She has no body to slow her down, no physical limitations whatsoever. She's just this maddened spirit, literally a head and trailing viscera, hunting down absolutely anything that breathes in her domain. Section 1. Shifting the horror, leaving the labs behind. Now, we really need to point this out because this is a massive shift from what we usually cover in these explainers. Think about the Capillarians universe, right? Games like Evil Nun, Ice Cream, Mr. Meat. Those are heavily rooted in high-tech environments, biochemical laboratories, and rogue science experiments gone wrong. But Miles Mansion? Totally different beast. We are leaving the labs behind for a classic, old-school, supernatural ghost story. This one is built purely on absolute isolation, ancient curses, and inescapable psychological terror. Section 2. The vicious cycle of greed. A fortune built on corruption. Because every good ghost story has to have a really dark origin, right? And this one starts years ago with a highly reclusive, extremely wealthy guy named Mr. Miles. He built this massive fortune through some very corrupt, highly secretive means, and he just hoarded unimaginable amounts of gold deep inside his sprawling, cavernous estate. Now, to keep his privacy absolute, he hires a deeply impoverished young maid named Krasue. And you can probably guess where this goes. As she's cleaning this massive, dead quiet mansion day after day, the rumors of all this hidden treasure start to warp her mind. Her desperation turns into this intense, dangerous greed. She becomes obsessed. Finally, on that fateful night, she finds the master key to his private vaults. She waits for him to leave, sneaks in, and starts stuffing bags full of gold coins and artifacts. She really thinks she's bought her freedom. But the cycle demands its toll. Mr. Miles returns early. He catches her red-handed, right there in the vault, and he is enraged by the betrayal. But he doesn't call the police. He can't risk his corrupt secrets getting out. Instead, in the suffocating silence of that house, he enacts this brutal, vigilante punishment. He violently murders Krasue right there. And to make absolutely sure she can never speak of what she saw, he brutally severs her head from her body and hides her remains deep within the estate's darkest corridors. That extreme violence, combined with her dying greed, trapped her soul right there, preventing her from ever passing on. Which brings us to a very important number, 30. Over the decades, the mansion basically rots. It becomes this dark urban legend. But that cycle of greed we talked about, it never really ends, does it? So years later, a modern-day, nameless burglar decides to break into this sealed house. They know the legends, but they are driven by the exact same blinding greed that ruined Krasue. Their terrifying objective? Slip into the dark and collect 30 hidden bags of Mr. Miles's cursed gold coins. They are literally walking straight into a death trap just for 30 bags of gold. Section 3. Surviving the Cursed Labyrinth. Navigating the dark halls. The very second our modern thief steps over that threshold, the heavy front door slams shut. It supernaturally locks from the outside. You are trapped in the pitch black, and you are not alone. Surviving this requires a nerve-shredding order of operations. Step 1, you have to scavenge this labyrinth for those gold bags. But here's the catch. As you collect them, Krasue's spirit senses her stolen treasure moving, and she gets incredibly aggressive. Step 2 is pure stealth. When her ghostly aura gets close, the lights wildly flicker, the furniture literally shakes, and you have to hide in closets or crouch behind doors in absolute dead silence. And step 3? The mansion's layout is literally shifting around you. Physics are breaking down, and you have to decipher this changing maze just to find a way to unlock the main exit. But you can't just hide forever, because suddenly, a sharp, metallic, distorted wheezing and crying violently echoes through the vents. Krasue doesn't just float, she flies. She maneuvers through these dark corridors at absolutely terrifying speeds. When you hear that horrific sound, the hunt is actively on. The sheer panic of hearing that crying closing in on your position completely shatters the silence of the house. To survive this, the thief has one incredibly unique mechanic, and it perfectly illustrates how the supernatural elements are woven together here. Blood red eye symbols. Krasue actually projects these ghostly, glowing psychic portals onto the walls of the house. If you are brave enough to reach out and touch one of these glowing eyes, you momentarily channel Krasue's own vision. For a terrifying few seconds, you see the dark mansion through her frantic, floating perspective. You basically use her own sight against her to track her lethal pathing and avoid running face-first into her floating remains. And as you scavenge deeper, trying to find all 30 of those bags, you quickly realize the corruption of this estate goes way beyond one single murder. You descend into this flooded, rotting basement and uncover a hidden, clinical hospital wing built right beneath the house. This heavily implies Mr. Miles, or whoever came after him, was conducting dark medical experiments or hiding highly infectious patients away from society. This deep-rooted evil has actually drawn in secondary spirits. So you aren't just dodging Krasue down there. You have to evade the terrifying phantom and a literal demonic hound named Charlie.
Section 4. A monument to avarice, the ultimate victory and cost.
Gathering every single bag, from the dusty, oppressive attic all the way down to those flooded sewers, is a monumental task. You are constantly outmaneuvering multi-angled supernatural threats. But think about this. Even if the thief perfectly balances stealth and speed, deciphers the shifting locks, and actually escapes into the night with the gold, they leave Krasue's severed head behind to scream eternally in the dark. The house itself became a physical manifestation of a curse, where time and space just completely break down. It proves that some fortunes are meant to remain buried forever. It stands as this permanent, horrifying monument to the deadly cost of human greed. It really makes you wonder, is any amount of wealth really worth stepping into the dark? Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and hey, keep your lights on tonight.